You are listening to KZYX 90.7 FM Philo, KZYZ 91.5 FM Willits and Ukiah, 88.1 FM Fort Bragg. Altogether, we make up Mendocino County Public Broadcasting, member-supported community radio. We also stream live on the web at kzyx.org. Support for KZYX comes from our members and the Good Farm Fund, a community organization providing direct support to small farmers with the aim to increase local food security in Mendocino County. For more information, goodfarmfund.org or Good Farm Fund on Instagram and Facebook. Support for KZYX also comes from our members and Tree of Life Charter School, celebrating 22 years providing a public Montessori education option in Ukiah. Tree of Life Charter School families are a part of a community where school and home are interconnected. Ages 5 through 12. Information at 707-462-0913 and treeoflifeschool.net.
Mind if I sit down? Everything you pray for, everything you play for me.
Hi, and welcome to Be More Now. My name is Blake Moore, and tonight I'm going to be celebrating National Poetry Month. It's April, with some poems from wide and far. And mostly I'm going to feature some youth voices, youth reciting classic poems from the National Endowment of the Arts Youth Poetry Out Loud program, as well as from the Canadian program Poetry and Voice. And then whatever else inspires me as I go along. Hopefully you'll enjoy a little bit of this and some more of that. And yes, some inspiration, contemplation, and joy along the way. That's what poetry is about, right? Painting with words. And I'm going to start us off with this odd spoken word performance mixtape of my own called Dangling Participle. And I created it as an aerial contortion musical dance recitation and debuted it at a fancy fundraiser event in a Berkeley warehouse. And as you're listening, you can picture me, those of you who know me, some of you have no idea how to do that, but picture me in a silver bodysuit painted with eyeballs that glowed in the dark. And I was literally dangling 15 feet above the crowd inside a metal sculpture that was created by the Burning Man artist Michael Christian. Yes, it was so easy to do whatever we wanted artistically back then. I hope you enjoy it.
This is dedicated to the one I love.
Daily participle.
I am many different people. Which one depends on who? I change myself to fit our comfort level. But the I am in any given moment both depends on and is cancelled out by who we see and who we want me to be. In between us all is a membrane words barely approximate. It is neither flesh nor spirit, man nor woman, color nor absence of color. It is all things living simultaneously, much like the ideas we wear, you and me.
be for the reduction of redundancy and the anti-proliferation of repetition, has decided not to meet until they have their first meeting, and thus will not be meeting until the first time.
If writers write, how come fingers don't fing? If the plural of tooth is teeth, shouldn't the plural of phone booth be phone beat? How come the time of day with the slowest traffic is called rush hour? Does synonym have a synonym? Why is abbreviation such a long word? Suspended like light dangling from darkness,
Loosely.
like champagne swaying from a glass,
A dangle. Spy pretending to be double.
feeding ideas back and forth, back and forth, back.
Dangler!
I dangle before you, seemingly above you, but I ride upon the silence of your words. Black, white, blue notes equal, each finger a Fibonacci syllable of taste and smell and sound and touch. Me alive inside this body, you alive inside yours. We fly side by side, beyond perspectives, dance of opposites joined in a single point of time, each with a story to tell, each with a story to tell.
Fresh.
When young, circuses appeal to all of us. When confused, dangling is exciting. When asleep, the moon calls out to you.
Participle. ing verbs and average adjectives used to modify a noun.
Shady antecedent. After a fierce whipping, the cook scrambles the eggs.
Dangling!
The girl is about 4 decades old, whitish, 5 foot 4 inches, with stringy hair weighing about 120 pounds.
Dangler!
Darting purposefully from flower to flower, the girl imagines a hummingbird.
Dangling!
Considering her face an odd flower, the girl opens her mouth and he flies in.
Dangling!
Honey buzz. The backward poet writes in verse.
Dangling!
There is no egg and eggplant, no ham and hamburger, no apples and pineapple.
Dangling!
Soaring about in the crevices of her teeth, time fragments to create little wings of lips and eyeballs.
Dangling, 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 dangling.
got to pull off your shoes. You got to pull out your shirt. Relax yourself and get ready to do the dirt. Doing the dirt. You got to watch me work. You got to stretch your legs as far as you can. Fix your leg now so your knees won't bend. You got to bend your hips. You got to bend it good. Shuffle your arms like it's all in wood. You in the dirt. Dirty, 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 dirty now. Get nasty.
Dust is just mud with the juice squeezed out.
You gotta settle
Bored
to the leg.
with insecurities?
You gotta settle
Slip
to
on
the
a peel.
leg.
Become a banana for a little while. Mush out.
You can do it all night.
Soft brown spots will make you sweet in a way you've never imagined.
You in the dirt. Gotta watch me work.
A skeleton is a collection of bones with a person's done.
You in the dirt. Gotta
But
watch
for
me
now,
work.
ripen like summer will never end. Feed people your sunlight. Balance on the fulcrum of pistil and stamen. Ask
Know you can do
for what
it.
you want.
You gotta bend your hips.
Say the
Gotta
words.
bend them good.
Practice is over.
Gotta shuffle your
We
arms
are real.
like it's all
Are
in wood.
real. Are real. Are real. Are real.
We spend most of our time sitting on the back porch, watching the cows, drawing and reading.
We see each other, eye to eye, and I speak of it. I know you like the inside of my eyes, though your story escapes me. The details traded for flashing sunsets, dropping orange lithium wedges into my vision. Staring at the sun, I see you, everyone, nobody. The porthole of a whale eye boring through space, inviting us to join the dropping into light. Become the next ray wave, illuminating a rising perspective. Bringing day to night, love to hate, peace to war, healing to everyone. We are everywhere now, everywhere now, everywhere now, everywhere now, everywhere, everywhere now, everywhere, everywhere now, everywhere, everywhere now, everywhere now.
I am offering this poem by Jimmy Santiago Baca. I am offering this poem to you, since I have nothing else to give. Keep it like a warm coat when winter comes to cover you, or like a pair of thick socks the cold cannot bite through. I love you. I have nothing else to give you, So it is a pot full of yellow corn to warm your belly in winter. It is a scarf for your head to wear over your hair, to tie up around your face. I love you. Keep it. Treasure this as you would if you were lost, needing direction. In the wilderness, life becomes one mature. And in the corner of your drawer, tucked away like a cabin or hoden, in dense trees, come knocking, and I will answer, give you directions, and let you warm yourself by this fire. Rest by this fire and make you feel safe. I love you. It is all I have to give, and all anyone needs to live, and to go on living inside when the world outside no longer cares if you live or die. Remember, I love you.
Margot Hunter Moffat, Next Step Senior High, Sherwood Park, Alberta.
Introduction to Poetry by Billy Collins. I ask them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say, drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means.
Mathis Savard-Verhoeven, Cégep du Vieux-Montréal, Québec.
I am the people, the mob. Carl Sandburg. I am the people, the mob, the crowd, the mass. Do you know that all the great work of the world is done through me? I am the working man, the inventor, the maker of the world's food and clothes. I am the audience that witnesses history. The Napoleons come from me, and the Lincolns. They die, and then I send forth more Napoleons and Lincolns. I am the seed ground. I am a prairie that will stand for much plowing. Terrible storms pass over me. I forget. The best of me is sucked out and wasted. I forget. Everything but death comes to me and makes me work and give up what I have. And I forget. Sometimes I growl, shake myself, and sputter a few red drops for history to remember. Then I forget. When I, the people, learn to remember, when I, the people, use the lessons of yesterday and no longer forget who robbed me last year, who played me for a fool, then there will be no speaker in all the world say the name, the people, with any fleck of a sneer in his voice or any far-off smile of derision. The mob, the crowd, the mass will arrive then.
We Wear the Mask by Paul Laurence Dunbar. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but, O great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet, and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask.
Wow, You've Changed by Dina Del Bucchia. You've changed. You used to be so... And now you're all... like you transformed. I don't know how to describe it. It's like... you don't like canasta anymore. You text in all caps. Your selfies are so animalistic. Like, are you out to prove something? You're a lion. You're a bear. You're a maggot. You're a virus. I just don't know. If we could be friends anymore.
I Am Waiting by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. I am waiting for my case to come up, and I am waiting for a rebirth of wonder, and I am waiting for someone to really discover America and wail, and I am waiting for the discovery of a new symbolic Western frontier. And I am waiting for the American eagle to really spread its wings and straighten up and fly right. And I am waiting for the age of anxiety to drop dead. And I am waiting for the war to be fought which will make the world safe for anarchy. And I am waiting for the final withering away of all governments. And I am perpetually awaiting a rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the second coming, and I am waiting for a religious revival to sweep through the state of Arizona. And I am waiting for the grapes of wrath to be stored, and I am waiting for them to prove that God is really American. And I am waiting to see God on television, piped onto church altars, if only they can find the right channel to tune in on. And I am waiting for the Last Supper to be served again with a strange new appetizer. And I am perpetually awaiting a rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for my number to be called, and I am waiting for the Salvation Army to take over, and I am waiting for the meek to be blessed and inherit the earth without taxes. And I am waiting for forests and animals to reclaim the earth as theirs. And I am waiting for a way to be devised to destroy all nationalisms without killing anybody. And I am waiting for linnets and planets to fall like rain, and I am waiting for lovers and weepers to lie down together again in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the great divide to be crossed, and I am anxiously waiting for the secret of eternal life to be discovered by an obscure general practitioner. And I am waiting for the storms of life to be over, and I am waiting to set sail for happiness. And I am waiting for a reconstructed Mayflower to reach America with its picture story and TV rights sold in advance to the natives. And I am waiting for the lost music to sound again in the lost continent in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the day that maketh all things clear, and I am awaiting retribution for what America did to Tom Sawyer. And I am waiting for Alice in Wonderland to retransmit to me her total dream of innocence. And I am waiting for Child Roland to come to the final darkest tower, and I am waiting for Aphrodite to grow live arms at a final disarmament conference in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting to get some intimations of immortality by recollecting my early childhood. And I am waiting for the green mornings to come again. Youth's dumb green fields come back again. And I am waiting for some strains of unpremeditated art to shake my typewriter. And I am waiting to write the great indelible poem. And I am waiting for the last long, careless rapture. And I am perpetually waiting for the fleeting lovers on the Grecian urn to catch each other up at last and embrace. And I am awaiting, perpetually and forever, a renaissance of wonder.
The Knowing by Connie Fife. The reinvention of oneself. through the tongues of whispering mountains, the rearrangement of the universe, because a spider wrapped her legs around a star. The knowing, the remembering of Stone's story while walking down a dried riverbed, being serenaded by crickets, singing the blues, because everyone except them has forgotten. The knowing which trail to follow through clear-cut forests, which scent will lead you home, because a 1,000-year-old bear still lives amongst the dead bodies, feeding off their memory. The knowing, the recollection of the loudness in silence, the clarity of unspoken words while sound crashes earthbound, because it is in what is not said that the truth sits. The knowing, the peeling back of one's own skin, to discover that the lizard sleeping against your spine was born the same moment as you, because she knew that one day you would need her sharp tongue to survive. The knowing, the rediscovery of Crow perched on your shoulder, her claws leaving scratch marks against your heart, because you need to be reminded that you are alive on days when you are numbed into speechlessness. The knowing, the glimpse of your reflection in the eyes of a stranger who is leaning against the chest of a cedar tree while cars spit at her, then mock her existence, because she refuses to roll over on the sidewalk, and you need to be reminded of why you were born. The knowing, the recreating of ceremony at the hands of change while wandering through unknown places, because history has turned us into our own lodges when it tried to bound our mouths and tie our words. The knowing, the acknowledgement of one's ancestors must become an ordinary event taking place with each breath, keeping them alive so their voices touch our skin with urgency and desire in our rib cages, because it is their shadows that protect us. The knowing, the importance of embracing our places or remembering, because inside their bodies live our beloved. Through their existence, we are fed love on a plate of resistance, while we swallow stars dropped down our throats by spider.
All right, so we are at our halfway point here on Be More Now. I'm your host, Blake Moore. So I'm going to go backwards in order of what you just heard. That last poem was Brea Wadden, The Knowing by Connie Fife. Before that was Madison Niermer reciting I Am Waiting by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. And then was Stephanie Abuhater reciting Wow, You've Changed by Dinah Del Bucha. And Safi Bizgarnet, We Wear the Mask by Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Matthias Savard Verhoeven, reciting I Am the People, the Mob by Carl Sandburg. Margot Hunter Moffett, reciting Introduction to Poetry by Billy Collins. And Sydney Regelbreggy, who is the current Mendocino County Youth Poet Laureate, as well as the Mendocino County Poetry Out Loud champion for 2022. And she was reciting one of her poems from that, I Am Offering This Poem by Jimmy Santiago Baca. And of course, this set started off with Blake Moore, myself, doing Dangling Participle. And as some of you might have heard already, this month, April, we're doing our Quiet Pledge Drive. And quiet because it's happening, but it's not happening all day long. Instead, we're just taking moments out of our show to remind you about how amazing this station is and how much your support, your continued support, means to our success. And I've been hosting a public affairs show on with KZYX since 2006. I started off with Women's Voices, and now it's Be More Now. And I'm just so impressed, amazed, delighted by the continued quality, enthusiasm, and dedication by the programmers, our staff, our community of listeners. And it's really an honor to create local programming and bringing a mix of cultural perspectives and poetry, art, innovation into your homes, in your cars, in your ears. KZYX is our county treasure, and we must continue to support and nurture the vital life vein of our community. And that includes our building fund, the new studio in Ukiah, and keeping our signal strong. Thanks to us, we have KZYX, and I urge you right now, pick up that phone and make a donation by calling 707-895-2324, and you can also go online to kzyx.org. Also, if you donate $150 or more, you can receive an extra special Building Fund thank you gift, a commemorative mug, a Building Fund mug. Together, all of us need to make sure that KZYX and our community continues to thrive well into the future. So please call 707-895-2324 or go online to kzyx.org and give what you can. No donation is too big or too small. And let us know if you're listening to Be More Now. Thank you so much for supporting KZYX, Mendocino County Public Broadcasting, listener-supported community radio. So as you listeners are logging on to kzyx.org to make your donations, perhaps calling that number to donate, I'm going to continue with our youth from Poetry Out Loud and Poetry in Voice, the national recitation programs of both the United States and Canada.
Bilingual Bilingue by Rina Espiat. My father liked them separate. One there, one here. Allá y aquí. As if aware that words might cut into his daughter's heart, el corazón, and lock the alien part to what he was, his memory, his name, su nombre, with a key he could not claim. English outside this door, Spanish inside, he said, y basta. But who can divide the world, the word mundo y palabra, from any child? I knew how to be dumb and stubborn, testaruda. Late, in bed, I hoarded secret syllables I read until my tongue, mi lengua, learned to run where his stumbled. And still the heart was one. I like to think he knew that, even when proud, orgulloso, of his daughter's pen. He stood outside mis versos, half in fear of words he loved but wanted not to hear.
Walking Both Sides of an Invisible Border by Lutuk Ipele. It is never easy walking with an invisible border. Separating my left and right foot, I feel like an illegitimate child forsaken by my parents. At least I can claim innocence, since I did not ask to come into this world. Walking on both sides of this invisible border each and every day and for the rest of my life is like having been sentenced to a torture chamber without having committed a crime. Understanding the history of humanity, I'm not the least surprised this is happening to me. A non-entity during this population explosion in a minuscule world. I did not ask to be born an Inuk, nor did I ask to be forced to learn an alien culture with an alien language, but I lucked out on fate, which I am unable to do. I have resorted to fancy dancing in order to survive each day. To no wonder I've earned the dubious reputation of being the world's premier choreographer of distinctive dance steps that allow me to avoid potential personal paranoia on both sides of this invisible border. Sometimes this border becomes so wide that I am unable to take another step, my feet being too far apart. When my crotch begins to tear apart, I am forced to invent a brand new dance step. The premier choreographer is saving the day once more. Destiny acted itself out, deciding for me where I would come from and what I would become, so I am left to fend for myself. Walking in two different worlds, trying my best to make sense of two opposing cultures which are unable to integrate lest they swallow one another whole. Each and every day is a fighting day, a war of raw nerves. And to show for my efforts, I have a fair share of wins and losses. When will all this end, this senseless battle between my left and right foot? When will the invisible border cease to be?
Writ on the Steps of Puerto Rican Harlem by Gregory Corso. There's a truth limits man. A truth prevents his going any further. The world is changing. The world knows it's changing. Heavy is the sorrow of the day. The old have a look of doom. The young mistake their fate in that look. That is truth, but it isn't all truth. Life has meaning. I do not know the meaning. Even when I felt it were meaningless, I hoped and prayed and sought a meaning. It wasn't all frolic poesy. There were dues to pay, summoning death and God. I'd a wild dare to tackle them. Death proved meaningless without life. Yes, the world is changing, but death remains the same. It takes man away from life, the only meaning he knows. And usually, it is a sad business, this death. I'd an innocence. I'd a seriousness. I'd a humor save me from amateur philosophy. I am able to contradict my beliefs. I am able because I want to know the meaning of everything. Yet sit I like a brokenness, moaning, oh, what responsibility I put on thee, Gregory, death and God. Hard. It's hard. I learned life were no dream. I learned truth deceived. Man is not God. Life is a century. Death, an instant.
Illegalese, floodgate dub, Wade Compton. For the Chinese Maroons, British Columbia, 1999 to 2001. If you arrive in the belly of a rusting imagination, there are grounds to outlaw you. But Canada is a remixed B-side chorus in the globalization loop. A sampled track of back home desiring, old days admiring, democracy dreaming, racism reaping homesickness that even Medicare can't cure. There is no fresh off the boat, or the plane, or the hope of consistency in foreign and foreigner policy, or obduracy of floodgate metaphors and death sentence deportations. The backbeat backbone of the chorus that screeches back home is the drum and bass treble track alliteration of comma, 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 gamaroo. And the stowaway that the border refused will be the headstone of the corner. When the destination is a nation that prides itself as peacekeeping but is still sleeping on the justice and compassion lacking in that back home, back home, back home, when jurisdiction cuts the earth to the bone, the proper diction is the unspoken issue, and the flesh of the people's color in the boats, in the hull, in the belly of a dream, without papers or definition, in quotations, refugee, a pen stroke from relief, languishing in the language exile of illegalese. And if it was heroic for runaway slaves to seep into Canada, why is it vilifiable for Chinese migrants to hide in the belly of a dream now? And when you want to draw the line or put your foot down or formulate enough is enough is enough is enough, what color is enough? What language does it speak? And isn't that the real issue written between the bordered lines, the bartered lives in this semantic peanut and shell game? In barricaded comfort, behind armchair palisades, wielding remote control diplomacy like a wand, we cultivate our cathode curtain without détente. With children lullabied by Filipino nannies, industry is carving up the melon of our Lotus Coast. And floodgates, they say, have said, and ever shall say. But people are not a flood. Borders are not God-given. Lives are not dollars. And Canada is not the sum of its exclusions.
I Am Graffiti by Leanne Simpson. I'm writing to tell you that yes, indeed, we have noticed. You have a new big pink eraser. We are well aware you are trying to use it. Erasing Indians is a good idea. Of course, the bleeding heart liberals and communists can stop feeling bad for the stealing and raping and murdering, and we can all move on. We can be reconciled. Except I am graffiti. Except mistakes were made. She painted 3 white X's on the wall of the grocery store. 1, 2, 3. Then they were erased. Except I am graffiti. Except mistakes were made. The X's were made out of milk because they took our food. 1, 2, 3. Then we were erased. Except I am graffiti. Except mistakes were made. We are the singing remnants left over after. The bomb went off in slow motion over a century instead of a fractionated second. It's too much to process, so we make things instead. We are the singing remnants left over after. The costumes have been made, collected up, put in a plastic bag, full of intentions, for another time, another project. Except I am graffiti, and mistakes were made.
War, Lee Maracle. In my body flows the blood of Gallic Bastille stormers and the soft, gentle ways of Salish Cree womanhood. Deep-throated bass tones dissipate. Swallowed by the earth, uproarious laughter sears, mutilates my voice, child of the earth. Tear of West Coast rain. Dewdrop sparkling in the crisp, clear sun of my home. Warm woman of the Mediterranean sunscape, bleaching, rough cotton, sweatshop anniversary. Thunderous, rude earthquakes that split my spirit within. Tiny grapes of wine console me. Can I deny a heritage blackened by the toil of billions conceived in rape, plunder, and butchery, in the veins that fight to root themselves in the wondrous breath of my homeland, races the blood of base humanity, European thief, liar, bloodsucker, I deny you not, I fear you not, your reality and mine no longer rankles me, I am moved by my love for human life, by the firm conviction that all the world must stop the butchery, stop the slaughter. I am moved by my scars, by my own filth to rewrite history with my body, to shed the blood of those who betray themselves to life. World humanity I ascribe to my people, my history. I address my vision.
But I'm no one. Wayman Chan for M. Mailer. Dear Ann Carson, my friend read me the poem where your mom said that the dead walk backwards. You thought this myth arose from poor translation. I can attest to your misapprehension. My social studies teacher in grade 8, Miss Rogers, believed it was customary for the Chinese to walk backwards when entering a washroom. So when our class went to Silver Dragon for lunch, that's what we did, giggling, even if we didn't have to go. But in my family, we never believed this. Where do ideas like that come from? It's true that regret looks back, that death's shadow follows us, and your only true companion is solitude, whose clarity will fade to black. It makes sense that the face of death must be turned our way. We're still here. I have to read lots in order to find what's useful, Miss Carson. To walk backwards is to safeguard not knowing. In the end, my striving can't reach more than this.
Journey of the Magi by T.S. Eliot. A cold coming we had of it. Just the worst time of the year for a journey, and such a long journey, the ways deep, and the weather sharp, the very dead of winter. And the camels galled, sore-footed, refractory, lying down in the melting snow. There were times we regretted the summer palaces on slopes, the terraces, and the silken girls bringing sherbet. And then the camel men cursing and grumbling and running away and wanting their liquor and women, and the night fires going out and the lack of shelters, and the cities hostile and the towns unfriendly and the villages dirty and charging high prices. A hard time we had of it. At the end, we preferred to travel all night, sleeping in snatches, with the voices singing in our ears, saying that this was all folly. Then at dawn, we came down to a temperate valley, wet below the snow line, smelling of vegetation, with a running stream and a watermill beating the darkness, and 3 trees on the low sky, and an old white horse galloped away in the meadow. Then we came to a tavern with vine leaves over the lintel, 6 hands at an open door, dicing for pieces of silver, and feet kicking the empty wineskins. But there was no information, and so we continued and arrived at evening, not a moment too soon finding the place. It was, you may say, satisfactory. All this was a long time ago, I remember, and I would do it again, but set down this. Set down this. Were we led all that way for birth or death? There was a birth, certainly. We had evidence and no doubt. I had seen birth and death, but had thought they were different. This birth was hard and bitter agony for us, like death. Our death. We returned to our places, these kingdoms, but no longer at ease here in the old dispensation with an alien people clutching their gods. I should be glad of another death.
Gitanjali 35 by Rabindranath Tagore. Where the mind is without fear, and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into the ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake.
Constantly Risking Absurdity, number 15, by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Constantly risking absurdity and death whenever he performs above the heads of his audience, the poet, like an acrobat, climbs on rhyme to a high wire of his own making, and balancing on I-beams above a sea of faces, paces his way to the other side of day, performing entrechat and sleight-of-foot tricks and other high theatrics, and all without mistaking anything for what it may not be. For he's the super-realist who must, perforce, perceive taught truth before the taking of each stance or step in his supposed advance toward that still higher perch where beauty stands and waits with gravity to start her death-defying leap. And he, a little Charlie Chaplin man, who may or may not catch her fair, eternal form, spread-eagled in the empty air of existence.
Song, Go and Catch a Falling Star by John Donne. Go and catch a falling star. Get with child a mandrake root. Tell me where all past years are, or who cleft the devil's foot. Teach me to hear mermaids singing, or to keep off envy's stinging, and find what wind seems to advance an honest mind. If thou best born to strange sights, things invisible to see, ride 10,000 days and nights, till age snow white hairs on thee. Thou, when thou returnest, wilt tell me all strange wonders that befell thee, and swear nowhere lives a woman true and fair. If thou find one, let me know. Such a pilgrimage were sweet, yet do not, I would not go, though at next door we might meet, though she were true when you met her, at last till you write your letter, yet she will be false ere I come to 2 or 3.
All right, so there we go, wrapping up the show. Poetry, classic poetry read by youth of America and Canada. I'll just go again from what we just heard to what we started with. The last poem was Sydney Regelbrugge, again, our Mendocino County Poet Laureate, as well as our Poetry Out Loud champion. And she was reciting Go and Catch a Falling Star by John Donne. And preceding that was Leo Chang reciting Constantly Risking Absurdity, number 15, by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. And before that was Malvika Chowdhury, Gitanjali 35 by Rabindranath Tagore. And before that was Alexander Gagliano, Journey of the Magi by T.S. Eliot. And William Zhang, But I Am No One by Wei-Min Chan. And Katricia Herbert, War by Lee Maracle. Nebo Nadai, I Am Graffiti by Leanne Simpson. Hamish Marison Clark, Illegal Ease, Floodgate Dub by Wade Compton. And Stanley Jackson reciting Writ on the Steps of Puerto Rican Harlem by Gregory Corso. And then before that, Gloria Chima, Walking Both Sides of an Invisible Border by Altuk Ipele. And we started off with Sofia Elena Sobran reading Bilingual Bilingue by Rena P. Espelat. So I guess that concludes Be More Now for April 7th, National Poetry Month. I'm your host, Blake Moore, and I'm so grateful for your time this evening, also for your pledges and support of KZYX. Stay tuned. Up next is The Treehouse with W. Dan, and I encourage you during the month of April to write a poem or read a poem or share a poem. See if you can bring more poetry into your life this month. It's easier than you think it is. Have a warm, star-filled evening. Thanks so much for listening.
Everything you play for, baby, turn around. Mind if I sit down? Everything you pray for, everything you play for me. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love. You got a sexy sound. You want another round. I like the way you play, boy. Tell me why you